Are you guys ready to present?
Is there a Wi-Fi password?
Wait, is it public hearing?
Uh-oh. Public be heard is at the end.
Go through.
Lynn? The Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi
They've
connection.
been doing that ever since they,
Since what?
ever since they, they went back to, yeah, they went back to the first one.
While we're waiting,
Yep.
let me just, I know, hey, my grandson arrived at fourth week meeting, so
He does what?
my grandson arrived,
A what? Oh.
so I've not seen him in a year. I'm thinking that we call it, but I want to
You are, I don't blame you. Especially, what? Lauren's not coming here.
But Richard, is one choice to make a meeting but not the vouchers and three signatures?
Oh, I can do that.
But you know, if you want to avoid a gathering where you burn something's up, I know. That might be a wise
It's been a
decision.
year. Meanwhile, while we're waiting, I'll see if they're running around my neighborhood today.
Oh, did you see, is that the same one that climbed over the fence at Town Road Road?
Yeah, I think I had a bear in my yard while I was out because I had some stuff torn up. Oh my goodness. Who, is that your yard?
He's heading towards my yard.
That's a little bitty guy.
Yeah, he's got teeth.
Yeah, oh, unless it's in your yard, yeah.
Lynn just,
He's
okay.
very cute.
The neighbor has his son-in-law, which is from New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Help her, I think,
Didn't appreciate it.
Did you see the bear?
Try Toontown, capital T, capital T,
They're excited to see it. But I think I had
69
a fence,
exclamation point.
in my backyard, so I planted a
Here,
lot
it's
of
written down right here.
And it has, one of the doors was kind of pried open, I had a bungee cord closed. Well, the bungee cord was all torn up and the door was open. And then the deer went in and ate everything in the yard. But I think it was a bear that opened the door.
There. Yeah, a big one.
Bear in the way now.
Well, yeah, that's a little guy. So, yeah.
Was it Stuart Rickin who was here?
So you, and you were just across the neighborhood.
Are we in, Bill?
Was he the one?
Are we in?
Rickin from the planning board when he was here.
Yes.
I'm not sure, but Michelle sent it, so I have it.
Stuart Griffin was the one after planning board meeting where.
To get, yeah, why do you need to pass
I don't know.
Right, wasn't he the one who was here when he was
You
here?
should just make your own pass.
Numbers on the
I
screen.
know, and it's not going in.
I think he was him.
That was
He was.
I was, was it him?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He was.
But it's hooked up out there.
Looks like it's processing.
Yeah.
In, no, what does that say?
You're
Okay.
offline.
You don't need to be online, do you?
Direct.
You don't need to be online under it, I don't know why it won't go.
That should be your own password, right?
Yeah.
For your computer, not, you know,
Okay.
And that's when you were trying.
I know.
No.
Ellie, I think I'm going to hand out folders, so it would sort of give them a guide to. Thank you. Bill?
Thank you. How are you doing, Reggie? Lynn?
Put that for that.
Oh, look at those sad eyes.
Okay, now I'm giving you 5 days to do this assignment.
So my name is Ellie. I am the director of the Saugerties Animal Shelter.
Welcome to Woodstock.
Thank you. So we'll introduce ourselves as we go. Each one of us is going to talk, so each one can introduce themselves. So the town of Saugerties Animal Shelter is located at 1765 Route 212, and we're within the transfer station. We take care of stray, unwanted, and orphan pets. We adopt out about 425 animals in 2020, but have helped many, many more, getting them back home, providing food through our pet food bank, helping them with veterinary care, or just providing advice. And to give that a little perspective, the SPCA has about 26 employees, and they adopt out about 1,000 animals. So we do a little bit under half of that with 4 employees, and 3 of which are part-time. So we are regulated by the Department of Ag and Markets and inspected yearly. We always pass with flying colors. And she often tells us that we are the best kept secret in New York because we have such a high adoption rate. It is mandated by the state of New York that each township has its own dog control officer and provides shelter to house those strays. So the town of Saugerties provides dog control for the town of Saugerties and the town of Woodstock. We are also contracted with the town of Kingston, and sometimes the Sobus and Warsing house their strays and unwanted pets with us.
I'm Shalyn. I work at the shelter as well. You need to be, yeah, you still need to be there.
Go ahead. I'll just do this.
As you can see from the pictures, our shelter has long outlived its usefulness and effectiveness. The heating system pulls in dirty air and pushes it right back out with just one paper filter in between. The floors are pitted and porous, leaving it impossible to disinfect, and we lack storage. The dog runs are small and were not built to house dogs on a long-term basis. It is a cinder block building with absolutely no insulation. The heat blows in and out just as quickly. There is no energy efficiency. We are one of the few municipal shelters that also takes in cats. Our cat cages are nice, but they will not comply with the new ag and market specifications. Those are our cat cages right there. They're called the jump cage. They stay in there too long, they start to lose muscle mass because they get achy and they don't get to move around enough. We do have a visiting room, which should be used for people to meet their future pets, but we often have to use it for a kitten room, a quarantine room, a picture-taking area, or an exam room for the vet. The puppy room also doubles as a quarantine area, overflow housing, senior or small dog housing, storage, or as a catio as it has a completely enclosed outdoor area, which is right through that little dog right there. You can see that outdoor area. We are now bringing up pups from the south. It's a win-win situation. Pups in the south are in danger of euthanasia, cruelty, disease, neglect. The spay and neuter message has not made its way down there yet, and they are overpopulated with unwanted puppies and kittens. They have a puppy season there like we have a kitten season here. Parvovirus runs rampant as well as distemper, both of which are deadly diseases. Up here, we have a lack of puppies for adoption. They are hard to get and the prices are overinflated. So we are saving lives and helping people at the same time. Pass it on to Morgan.
So hello, my name is Morgan. I've been working at the shelter for about 5 years now. So the Saugerties Animal Shelter not only provides a place for our community animals, but it also provides a place for the people in our community as well. We have organizations like the Ulster Green ARC, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, 4-H groups, high school students, even court-ordered community service people, and they're all welcomed pre-COVID almost daily. So we could not do what we do without our volunteers. They walk the dogs, they socialize cats, they help us clean, they help us at events. And sometimes they just offer us moral support, which is always appreciated. So we're a very tight-knit group. We also have people who stop in, again pre-COVID, saying, you know, I've had a bad day, I just want to pet a dog or say hi to a cat. And they leave, you know, saying, thank you so much, I really needed that. So like we said before, we're just 4 employees. We have 1 full-time dog control officer, and then Ellie is our part-time director, and then Shalyn and I are also even more part-time. We're supposed to be a chart. So as you can see from this chart, in the last 5 years, our cat adoption rate has greatly increased. Our dog population is steadily increasing, but we can only fit so many safely, and we've reached our saturation point. The amount of dogs returned to their owners, most of which are picked up as strays, has stayed pretty steady, but with social media, it has tremendously helped us return those pets to their owners. So basically what we've been trying to say is that we're a regional shelter and we have a big impact on the community, and having a new shelter will help us do our job in a more effective, safe, and healthy way.
All right, I'd like to start. My name is Laura Kassar, I'm the architect for the new shelter. Please don't equate the quality of the building with the quality of my public speaking. This is what I'm working on, so I'm going to stick to the cards. I'm actually a full-time resident of Socrates, just over the Woodstock town line. I'm also a pet mother to 2 golden retrievers and an old moody cat. I just love animals, so this project is very personal to me. I think most architects probably dream of designing skyscrapers and museums, but when they asked me to design the animal shelter, I was thrilled. That being said, if you have skyscrapers or museums you need designed, give me a call. Okay, so the building's design came, the building's design came about after we all formed a building committee along with the town supervisor, Socrates, and town council members. And we went and visited a lot of the more newly built shelters around the state. And that was really helpful to us because we were able to see what was working, what wasn't working. We could talk to staff. We could see how the animals interacted with their spaces. Basically, it basically inspired us to learn more about the pros and cons of things like acoustic issues, sanitation issues, durability of materials was a big one, as I'm sure you can imagine, and we saw how building design can help increase adoptions. Our plans have also been reviewed by and informed by an animal shelter consultant up from Buffalo, and she gave us some great insight based on decades of experience working with shelters, opening new shelters, and we were just really grateful to have her. Please. Okay, the proposed site is on the same plot of land that the existing shelter is on, but at a different location. So right now it is directly across from the recycling transfer station. I don't think I need to say more than that if you've seen its location already. Basically, the new location, which you can see is around that green dot, is within a wooded area that will be cleared, obviously, and will have a separate entrance. But it gives itself, it gives a chance to separate the shelter visually from the transfer station. And it finally gets to have its own identity. Most importantly, it takes away a lot of the negative stimulation that the animals were experiencing, the constant sounds of the trucks and the bottles being poured and the abandoned refrigerators being dumped right next to the building, things like that. So we're really fortunate for really a rather beautiful site. Next, please. Okay. The proposed shelter is 2 stories. It contains about 4,500 square feet for the main building, and then another additional 4,000 square feet or so allotted to the dog kennels and associated support areas around there. Square footage is a little hard to determine because a lot of it is inside outside, but that's basically how we've been looking at it. At the ground level of the main building, we're providing spaces for the functions that are necessary in a modern day animal shelter, a lot of which, as you saw, the current shelter just does not have. And the upstairs contains staff space and 2 multifunctional meeting spaces. And the larger of the 2 connects to a covered outdoor space that can be used in conjunction with that meeting room. So these meeting spaces are intended to be used not only by the staff, the volunteers, and the animals that are housed there, but also by the outside community. You can, I'll go into that a little later. Next, please. Okay, on the ground floor when you enter, the first thing you see is a free roaming cat room with large windows. The shelter consultant worked with us to get the right amount of animals per square foot and help us determine kind of what makes the animals happiest. That room also connects to the exterior patio, which you can see from the outside of the building. If you head through the entry, past the cat room, there is a 2-story cat tree, which will be a lot of fun to actually get to the details of. But you'll see that a little later in one of the renderings. But it's a double height lobby, flooded in natural light, with windows into the small wildlife room, the cat housing area, and like I said, the cat climbing and cat room. It is also open to more informal upstairs meeting room. You'll see that in the rendering also. Also on the ground floor, all of the shelter feeding, grooming facilities are located there. And there's a separate dog and cat quarantine area that is accessed by a dedicated intake entrance. And at Saugerties community request, we added a cat wash station where it will have a machine that throw on a couple bucks and self-wash your pet. I know Saugerties was very excited about that because I don't think there's one very close. Next, please. Okay, this is the back half of the lower floor, which is mainly the kennel area. The dog kennel area contains 5 quarantine kennels, 16 standard kennels, and 4 featured dog kennels that are larger than the standard kennels and will be the first dogs you see when you walk through the kennel area. The larger kennels are for dogs that are either there more long-term and we want to put up front to get more exposure, or ones that have anxiety issues who could benefit from less noise of the regular shelter kennel area. But all the kennels have an indoor and outdoor component, and the outdoor component is weatherproof and has radiant floors. So it's called exterior space, but it'll be very comfortable. And there are rooms connected in the middle of all the kennel spaces that actually help bring natural light in, which is very important. Next, please. Okay, this is the upper floor, which, as I said, was staff space and these 2 meeting areas. The second floor is accessed from the first floor by either stairs or an elevator-like lift. It actually looks like an elevator, but it's really a lift. Or it can be accessed from the exterior by a set of exterior stairs that's connected to the kennels, or a ramp that connects the upper runs to the lower runs. The 2 multifunctional meeting spaces that can be used not only by the shelter for animal care, but also for them to give classes, training, fundraising events to help them supplement their operating costs. But it can also be used by the community. You're thinking birthday parties, just events, rent out, it's got that indoor-outdoor connection. I thought that would be fun. That upstairs exterior run, which you'll see better in the next rendering, is also fenced in, but has gated access to the lower runs. Next, please. So these are just some kind of cartoonish renderings of the building. They've been developed a little further since then. We're currently about, say, 75% through the bid set for the building, and working with local engineers and to just make this real. So you can see here, that's the front of the building. The upper exterior run, you can see up there in the rear of the building, and what you're seeing there is the operable polycarbonate windows that shield the exterior runs from the outdoors. Down on the lower left is that slope ramp area that connects the upper and lower runs. And the bottom right shows one of those intermediate spaces that bring natural light into the interior of the section. That's actually an exterior stair gable that's popping up. Next, please. This was a rendering done just to kind of show the spatial layout. It's not, doesn't have what finishes in it, but you can see that this is a two-story lobby, and it's got the two-story cat tree over to the left. It's got viewing windows of the cat condos. All of the cats have access to windows, no matter what cat condo you were in. And there is a separate kitten room and a wildlife room that all have windows as well. Next, please. This is a section through the rear of the building, just showing the relationship between the kennels and that space above. Basically, I know this was kind of a brief introduction to the building, but all the animals are going to benefit from natural lighting, fresh air. All the HVAC and plumbing systems are properly designed, they'll provide fresh air continuously. All plumbing has been designed to avoid cross-contamination. There are dedicated HVAC units for quarantine areas, both dogs and cats. And as you saw in the pictures, this is not something we have now in the current shelter. Our aim was to improve the well-being and adaptability of the animals that stay here, but also to design in a way that makes the staff and volunteers better able to do their jobs. If you saw what they did on a daily basis, you'd be amazed. So everyone involved in getting the shelter built truly intends for this building to be an asset to the animals, to their caretakers, and of course the surrounding community. So, thank you for having us. I'd like to invite Raquel.
I'm going to stand over here so everybody's necks can get right, especially yours. Oh, you want me to be there?
Well, he's got her on camera now, though.
Is it okay if I'm here?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, my name is Adele Coast-Sinderman. I'm the administrator of the Saugerties Animal Welfare Fund, and we are a not-for-profit that the shelter manager, Ellie Moffett, and I founded 3 years ago for the purpose to make sure that every penny donated goes towards the animals in the shelter. And no money gets lost in the town, not your town, but you know how it goes. So we partner together with the town. The town pays for the property that we're building on is town property, but the town and taxpayers are not putting out one dime for it. The Saugerties Animal Welfare Fund, we've raised all the money so far, excuse me. And if you look on the back of the folder, is a picture of my mom, Marie Post, who founded the shelter 45 years ago. She found the need, if you go back that many years, if a dog was found, it was tied up at a landfill. And she just didn't want that to happen anymore. She was very involved. She was a town council person for years. She was president of the Ulster County SPCA, and she worked for vets in the area, and a lot of people knew her and her kindness for animals. So the town of Saugerties gave her a garage, which is now what they're working in now across from the transfer station. So obviously, and according to Ag and Marketing, and their laws are going to become stricter in the next couple of years, we would not be up to their standards. So it's not a luxury that we're building this, it's out of necessity. And as we're building it, we're making sure that everything is repurposed. Mike Avino, who owns J&J Tree Service, has gifted us taking down the trees, only the trees that need to come down. And they're going to be repurposed into mulch to use for trails. We have a landscaper that has volunteered his time, and he has made the suggestion, and is going to make it happen, that any shrubs that have to be taken out, If we can replant them around the new shelter, we're going to do that. So basically, oh, and also, right to the, that would be Ellie's left. Oh, Shalom, you hold that up? One of the things you'll see inside the folder is to buy a brick. That's a large brick, 8 by 8. We have a local company that is doing the engraving, and again, we're trying to make sure we stay with local people. And then that's 200, and then there's also a 4 by 8 brick, half that size, that's $100. And that would be placed in, when you saw the picture of the shelter, the entrance to the shelter will have a huge patio, and that's where those bricks would go. If you look further into it, you'll see the naming opportunities. That range is quite a big range. You can become a sponsor for $1,000. There are, I mentioned the bricks for $100 or $200. Benches, and anything I'm mentioning will have a plaque on it. If you buy a bench for $500, you will have a plaque of the wording of your choice, and the same with everything else that is inside there. All right, so what we've done so far, and I was discussing this with Bill earlier, and he was pleasantly pleased. And the reason we came tonight to the board members is because we need also your help in figuring out how can we get the word across to the people of Woodstock that this is their shelter. Actually, the Sorority Animal Shelter used to be known as the Sorority Woodstock Animal Shelter. And you pay a fee monthly to have the services. Every municipality is required to have a shelter or to have the services of another shelter. So about 2 months ago, we walked around to businesses in the village of Woodstock, and we found a lot of people do not realize that that's their shelter. So I just wanted to mention that now to go into the finances. And Laura mentioned about a consultation from a woman we had from Buffalo. She was recommended by the New York State Animal Protection Federation. I'm a member as the Sororities Animal Welfare Fund. Ellie is a member as the Sororities Animal Shelter. And also, one thing you should know about our shelter, we go to Albany and we lobby for animal rights with this federation. So far, as of yesterday, Laura, perhaps, the cost is now 2.1. We originally started with 1.3, but because of COVID and the prices going up, but a good thing is because of COVID it's taking us longer, and perhaps the prices will go down for wood next spring. And of the 2.1, we just recently got $300,000 committed by Senator Michelle Hinchy, $100,000 by Assemblyman Chris Tagg. We were left $425,000 by a woman in Sororities for her estate. The Sororities Animal Welfare Fund privately paid for a grant writer, and we wanted to make sure we had control and would get it done. Our committee, building committee, to apply for the state grant from the Ag and Marketing. And we were awarded $500,000 from Ag and Marketing. And then recently we were approached by a cat shelter that has to dismantle. The founder has passed away. The board finds they cannot continue because it's a lot of work. And they visited a lot and investigated a lot of not-for-profits. When you're a not-for-profit and you dismantle, you have to give your funds to another not-for-profit. And also with that condition, I have to be, the New York State Attorney General's office wants my records to be the really fine, you know, like it has to be very, very fine pointed and to make sure it's a match. And it obviously is, because they're a cat shelter. We have cats, by law you're not required to have them, but that's one of the reasons why my mom wanted to make sure she founded the shelter. And she said if she raised her own money, can that shelter have cats? So we've continued the tradition. So I'm not going to say if that works out, it's going to work out. If I'm on a mission, it's going to work out. That would be $200,000. And then our organization, the not-for-profit, from donors, once we were able to, keep track of all the money, and also some donors are people who have already purchased rooms in the naming opportunity, we have raised $300,000. That brings us up to 1.8. Now, it sounds like we're close to the 2.1, but I have learned many times when Laura walks in the room and she said, Adele, you better sit down. That means that she's met with the engineer and the numbers have changed. So it will be above the 2.1, and then we go to the interior where the dog kennels, for a good price, we got for $100,000. And then there's the cat condos and the furniture. That's all going to add probably another $300,000 to $400,000. But mind you, this building is going to last a long, long time. And I will have an agreement by the town board in Saugerties with their lawyer that it will have a certain amount of years that it cannot be, because once this building is built, all the other departments are going to look at it and say, well, wait a minute, but it's definitely going to be a shelter. I don't want anybody to be concerned that 50 years from now it's going to be something else. So, so I think that's just about it. I mentioned about J&J taking the trees down. They're doing that, gifting that to us. And we're also getting work in kind by the town of Saugerties from the Department of Public Works as far as once the trees come down, clearing the land. We're also going to have, we're not really sure about the road yet, but let's say where it goes in now, but it to the shelter will divert off. So we're not, I want to put up pretty paintings between us and the transfer station. That's what I'm going to do. So, but that road is also going to be done by the town. So that's work in kind. So that all adds to this amount. And we've been working at it for 3 years, and I would say the trees, next month should start coming down, and then it has to go out for bid. That's a whole process, as you know. And then we will start putting the actual building up next. Come on, Laura, give me some good hope here. March?
Yes.
Okay. See, that's what she does to me. Okay. All right, so are there any questions?
Adele, I thank you very much for coming up with your whole team. I thank the town of Saugerties and the shelter for providing us with excellent service. We've been doing this now, God, almost as long as I've been on the board, at least close to 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Well, if there's any questions, please, I know you talked to Fred, but call Ellie or call myself, because especially when it comes to the building, I'll get you answers. I'll call you back right away.
I will.
You have my number.
And I would encourage Woodstockers to remember that this is
There's,
our shelter too, and if you have, who would they reach out to if they wanted to volunteer, get some time? Ellie?
Call the shelter.
they would call the shelter.
What's the number for the shelter?
845-679-0339.
See, it's even a Woodstock exchange.
Yes.
There's also on our website,
Yes.
there's also town Saugerties, or no, it's just SaugertiesAnimalShelter.com. There's a volunteer application as well that people can send in.
Okay, excellent. And if you can send me something that we could put up on the Woodstock Facebook page, we get a lot of hits there. So I would be happy, and even about the fundraising.
And yes, most important with the fundraising, it is into a not-for-profit organization, and the money has to be, I'm making sure it's very transparent, every dollar that we get,
Thank you.
very transparent.
Does the board have any questions?
What kind of, so it sounds like you're not looking for anyone, you're not gonna go to bond or anything because you're gonna do everything through your fundraising. It sounds
That's
like.
what our hope is.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. If at the last minute we find, because the bond has been offered to us by Fred Costello, we're trying to, somebody who, for instance, pledged $20,000 to me, they're going to be paying it off before the building starts. And because the building, what was going to start this last fall, then this spring, and then this fall, is now next spring, it has given us more time to raise the money. And hopefully through and we're constantly reaching out to businesses, to individuals. So hopefully, and we have quite a few, about 1/4 of the naming opportunities sold already.
So if you were to bond, would the taxpayers of Saugerties pay, or who would pay if you were to bond?
It would be, the
The
taxpayers,
not-for-profit,
the not-for-profit. Mhm.
wouldn't cost the taxpayers.
And what happened to the Woodstock name in the title?
I really can't tell you. And, you know, my mom passed 6 years ago. She might have been able to give me an answer to that. And I don't know if anybody would have an answer to that since she's gone.
It's okay, we have a concert named there.
You have,
Yeah, but it's held in Sorties.
The first one was Bethel, the second one was Sawyer.
Yeah.
And my last question is, numbers-wise, how many more cats or dogs will the new shelter hold?
Okay, so do you want to take that as far as,
So we will have what, like, 4?
20, the ability to house 20 dogs,
So
and
that's-
18 cat condos, plus there's 3 roaming rooms. things like
How is
that.
it different from today then?
So we have 13 dog runs right now.
Oh,
So
Now-
we have increased, but they have grown, they're going to also double in size. So
Right.
they won't be in such small runs.
yes, the kennels now are very small. So it's not just that we're having more, it's that what we have now
Yes,
will now be,
Less stressful.
Right.
The cats will actually be able to stretch their legs and not have muscle atrophy when they've been with us for 4 months. We've had cats go home and it took them 3 days before they were walking correctly because they hadn't been able to, move around for a while.
And lastly, who should they contact if they want to give some money?
me. You can also get in touch
What's
with
the best
Ellie if
thing?
anybody has questions. They'll give me your information. I'll call you back. But absolutely, you can call the shelter and you have my, my contact information is in here. It gets sent to, any information gets sent to our post office box in Sardi's. But I think you have our card, my card, I can give you another one tonight. But they could call the shelter and then they give me the information and I would call you. I want to bring up when we talked about bringing up rescues, and most of the time we deal with Louisiana because we deal with one organization that we know that the animals are totally vetted. They are the ones that we're receiving, heartworm-free, they've had the vaccinations, if age appropriate, they are spayed and neutered. So when they come here and we have all the certifications, they could be adopted out the next day. And this started during COVID. It's something we were going to do with a new shelter because we would have more room. And mind you, it's because these dogs are being put to sleep. The education in the southern states, and actually not just when you think southern, you think of down in like in Texas and Alabama, but it's in South Carolina as well, and parts of North Carolina and Virginia. They're just, the Northeast, we're very educated and very mindful of having the spay and neutering. And that's why we don't have the population of puppies. So by bringing them up, we're saving their lives. And we wouldn't have done it, it was because of COVID. People that were home were keeping the stray until the shelter found the owner and matched them up as opposed to coming to the shelter. So we found that we had the space to do this. And we're finding that it still works out. We would never compromise our communities.
We do need to move on, Spud, so I just want to make sure that Richard.
No, my dog's from Louisiana. Well, hope he says hi.
Okay, good.
Do you foster? Do you have a foster program?
We have,
Yes.
So if people are interested in that, is that?
Foster application is
say
also
no.
on the website,
Okay.
or just Saugerty'sAnimalShelter.com. Our Facebook is Town of Saugerty's Animal Shelter. Our website is Saugerty'sAnimalShelter.com.
Thank you.
and with the new shelter, we will have programs in our community room about fostering, about other educational, so that's one of the things about the new shelter, having a community room to educate with other matters as well.
Reggie, did you have any questions? Maria Lane?
This is wonderful.
We say thank you.
Okay, yeah,
All right, thank you so much.
And again,
Thank
thank you to the shelter, thank you to the town of Sawtrees for being a great partner, and we appreciate your work.
It's a good group to work with.
We will do what we can to help raise some funds here in this.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Then, what, you'll call me for lunch and we'll talk about
Sure.
it?
Ken, you're next up.
All right.
So as Ken presents, I brought a picture, but I think what Ken is presenting
present is of the map that goes with the law that we're circulating.
Seriously?
So I wanted to share the map that the zoning review committee had.
Zero meeting, folks.
So Ken, I'm just passing out the map that the zoning revision committee said. I think you're giving us an alternative map for the water protection district.
Not familiar with that. This was the map that the town board submitted to the planning board as part of their water protection plan. This is the Winkley map. And it's a solid map. It is fully documented. There's 2 reports which support it. What's called the Winkley report, which this map is a part of. And that was received by the town in October 2003. And there's a second report, the Horsley and Witten report, which was received by the town in 1995. But this is a truly based, well-documented map. And so it's been the foundation of not only the work in the past, but the work that Jay Wink did and the work that we've done over the last couple of years. So that map was submitted to the planning board. They came back and said we needed some other information. That also was the map that was used by Jay Wink's Water Protection Group, which Laura was a member of. But during that period, there were like maybe a half dozen or so maps which were created, which that looks like one of them, by Jerry Washington. And those were also submitted to the planning board. And the planning board came back in, was May 2017 and said, these are inconsistent and, we can't deal with it. So at that point, the town board put this problem on the comprehensive plan committee. November 2018, the comprehensive plan was approved. We had Laura sponsored a couple of meetings in January of 2019 and made assignments. And that's when the zoning revision subcommittee was created. That's also when the issues dealing with the planning board were assigned to Bill as part of the infrastructure. At that point, I recommended the bill because the state had announced this new program, the Drinking Water Source Protection Program. And we signed up for that, and we were assigned Grant Young as a member, as from the Department of Health, to work through some of the issues. There were 3 issues we were dealing with. One had to do with the extension of the sewer system, and with Grant's help, we worked through and submitted a report on that. The second issue had to do with an educational program for people who live over the wells, and we're still working on that. But a third issue was to resolve the problem with the maps and make them consistent. At that point, we were approached by DEC, who wanted to do the natural resource inventory. And we submitted that what we need is a source water protection map, a professionally drawn map. And so, as part of the natural resource inventory, we created this map, which is the drinking water protection map. Now, this map includes everything on that map. We had probably the best GIS talent in the county. We had Tim Koch from the watershed, the Shokan watershed.
I'm sorry, Ken. Is that map the same as this? I can't see it. Whatever. No, but is that the same as this?
Yes.
That's all I asked.
See, it's got the exact same lines here, and it's got the exact same lines here.
But it changes.
I'm not seeing it.
Because I'm
It
seeing a
changes-
red line here.
It changes with Rick's Road. This, the one that we have here, it comes down at an angle right here.
Yeah.
It's also
Is there red lines there?
That's all I'm doing too.
So Ken, the top of that matches, this is what Ed Sanders sent at our zoning revision committee, our last zoning revision committee meeting. Ed Sanders sent this, and he had said that this was the Winkley map that matched. It looks the same as yours at the top, although it's a little different along the bottom.
Okay.
Well, our purpose was to,
In purple, right?
Yeah, so it includes this.
So Ed believed this was the latest map to be used, if it came from Steve Winkley.
This matches nothing that's over there.
so we started with that map, with the documents that we had from the, that supported the Winkley map.
Okay.
We had Tim Koch, GIS expert from the watershed, Ben Gannon, the GIS expert from the Department of the Environment, and Grant Young, the GIS expert, or, our support from the Department of Health. But the intention of using this map as the base map for the aquifer protection law. Now, the idea is that this is a fully GIS capable map, completely meets the requirements of the planning board, both the Ulster County Planning Board and the Woodstock Planning Board, and because it's GIS with shapefiles, we can change those lines. If you don't like, you want to use that outline, you just change it. But we had no documentation
Okay,
about,
I think this matches though. I am looking.
Just in the purple section, right, Ken, are you just talking about what's in the purple lines?
right, this
Then
is,
it does, just Ken, just within the purple lines,
that is
this is the section that's in red, right?
right.
Then yeah, it's it's just missing a little bit in the middle, yeah, but everything else.
But based on the public comments, as you go through this process, you may want to change those lines. I mean, this is the district that the town board is proposing to create. And so with the GIS-based map, those are easily changed.
See what it doesn't matter.
Did you have a small
Yeah,
version of that?
This is on your this is on the
Like
website.
only for Parker Ricky, doesn't it?
No, it really doesn't match. It really,
Pretty close.
It's
This
pretty
matches
close.
pretty closely. This part's different.
Just
look at that right there. is
Yeah,
different.
this is different.
that one's
But
at
it's
the
pretty
top,
similar.
that's that. It just seems like
There's a
it's
lot
out of color
I think
here,
it's
but
similar on the
otherwise,
bottom. I think it's
it's
just
very
very
similar.
This part down here.
It's just, we're just talking about the area in red, right, Ken?
I don't know where that map came from.
Oh,
That-
there you
Well,
go.
okay.
Ken just did
That's it. Oh.
This one came from
I'm
Laura.
assuming that that's.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is,
Yeah, I don't know. But he said this
The idea-
came out in 2003.
I mean, back in November 2017, the planning board said the maps that you gave
Okay,
us
hold on, Laura, one
are
comment.
inconsistent and they're missing things. I mean, you have the letter. And so our purpose was to resolve that problem and present a fully capable map that you could use for the planning process. This is not meant to establish as a district, this is meant to, establish a baseline. And of course, these lines can be changed if you want to squiggle those lines and move the road and whatever. I mean, that all can be, that's part of the decision the planning board and the town board will make. But this map includes all the information from the Winkley map. It includes the entire Woodstock Water District. It includes more information about the aquifers. And so, and this was created as part of the natural resource inventory, with the technical assistance of the DEC, of the Ashokan Watershed, the Ulster County Department of the Environment, the Department of Health. We can explain this map.
Ken, can you tell me the checked or crossed, the hatching, the purple, the reddish purple? What's this?
That's part of the, that's the aquifer.
That's the act, and the purple line is the act, what's,
The
That's
purple
what
line is what is called the Water Supply Protection Overlay.
Okay.
This is what Winkley proposed.
Well, that's
That
a
would change, right?
The law number 3 matches the purple line.
Right.
So the law that we proposed, the law that this board had for several weeks, the law that went to the planning board and came back, and now we're talking about how to get it to the next step, which is the county, matches the purple line. And I'm okay, this is what Ed thought, but like you said, this came to the NRI, which sounds like it's more inclusive of more experts.
This is the map you should send to the planning board for both the Ulster County and the Woodstock. The Woodstock Planning Board already has
And
this.
it's online, if I look online, is it going to be by itself, or do I have to look in the NRI to find it?
Well, it's map number 9 within the NRI.
Okay, so map number 9 in the NRI.
Right. And you know, where do you put the water supply protection district? I mean, that's up to the town board to decide.
But we need to have that map to forward this.
Right, so this is close, but I agree with Ken that we should, this has had more experts look at it, and the NRI was a very formal process that had a lot of people give a lot of thought to it. So the NRI map was very likely.
This encompasses a little bit more area than the one you handed out.
But this one.
They're very close.
But this one is, as Ken started out by saying, originally came out in 2003. This is not the latest map, that's the latest map. This is an older.
Yes, this has been updated. This map is designed to replace all the existing maps. But that map, the 2003 map, that is fully documented. There are reports which have been filed with the town, and that should stay in the archives. And the zoning law that you're proposing references those reports. So that is part of the fundamental documentation behind this map also.
Right.
So, excuse me, Ken, for just 1 second. So what is this map, what year is this map from?
I have no idea.
That can't be
Okay,
wrong.
so then, you know what, maybe this is what's confusing everybody, that if that map, if the one that you're using, that's the 2003, that we're gonna be going forward with, isn't this one, what are we doing with this
Well,
one?
the reason for this one is because the zoning revision committee has, we're calling it local law number 3, the water protection law, has come, the zoning revision committee has reviewed what was there and said, yes, this is good, and it's been to the planning board for review. They came back and said, can you give us a map? So Ed, who is part of all these groups that Ken, just about all these groups that Ken is part of, Ed sent this to me and said, this is the latest map, this is the Steve Winkling map, this is what we should use. So this is what the zoning revision committee understood we should use, but I like Ken's explanation, I like the fact that he's quoting the NRI, so I'm okay with saying, hey, we'll set this aside as far as the official map. And I want to get Ed's opinion though, because we have a whole zoning revision committee. I want to go back to them and make sure that we're all in sync. I don't want to make a decision for the zoning revision committee, but I think that it makes sense to use your NRI map, because that was a big,
But,
and that was
so we
adopted.
can use the NRI map and make it conform to these boundaries.
Yeah.
So what?
Well, the boundaries are slightly different.
Yeah, they
Yes.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
this is pretty close.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with, I'll talk with the zoning revision committee, but I'm okay with using the NRI.
So we have a meeting in 2 weeks. I'd like to move this forward to the county.
I would love to move forward to
We will need a
the
map
county.
to do that, so if you could meet with them ASAP and maybe invite Ken and you can compare the maps and come up with a decision and get it to the board.
Okay, so does anybody on this board, it sounds like, is anybody on this board not happy with the NRI map? Is this board okay with using the NRI map and
I
show?
mean, it's very similar. I mean, I can't quite see the final points from here, but.
Right, that's different.
Yeah, a little bit there.
Yeah.
You know, you figure out what you gotta do. It's not that far off.
All right, so I'll pull this out of my NRI documents, I'll take that to the ZRC. And thank you, Ken, for explaining.
Ken,
All right. And I'll pick this stuff up tomorrow.
And you,
And if you accept this map, I'll donate it to the town so you can hang it on the wall.
Everyone can see it.
Well, one thing that I think that the law we're proposing does say is that the map has to be accessible. So if we're going to use this, we should probably take it, keep it in the NRI, but pull a copy out of it and make it separately. So when you go into town, you look at the town laws, there's a series of maps. If this is what we're using, it ought to be in that list. So it's very easy to find.
Well, it's all online.
I know it's online, but you have to go and know where to look. So it ought to be right there with a list of laws. When you go to the laws, Woodstock laws, it has a list of maps. So we should pull it out and put it there.
Yes.
What list you're talking about?
That's okay, but he doesn't have to be the one who does it, right?
No, don't worry about it.
I'll go
On the
ahead.
website.
All right,
Ken, thank you very
thank
much.
you very much.
So, a couple of resolutions. Be resolved to hire Dominic O. Polycastro as part-time dispatcher, D, for the Woodstock Police Department at a rate of $21.87 per hour, effective August 11th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be resolved to hire Carol M. Bush as part-time dispatcher for the Woodstock Police Department at a rate of $21.87, effective August 11th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be Resolved to accept the resignation of Christopher Benson as police officer in the court security effective July 22nd, 2021.
Second.
And be it further resolved to thank Chris very much for his years of service and wish him the best on Prince Orleans. Ready seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved to authorize the supervisor to engage the services of Kyle Ornett of Vandal Water and Vandal Water LLP to assist the assessor in legal actions against the town of Woodstock with regards to property assessments.
Second.
Second, I think you are aware, we've got a couple of challenges to assessments in the Supreme Court, so the assessor will need some legal guidance and appraisal.
That is New York State Supreme Court?
Yes, which is the lowest court. All in, the lowest New York court. All in favor? Aye. Public be heard.
I don't have paper.
George, can you grab that?
Liz Shapiro.
Liz, 2 minutes. Come right up here.
Explain the map to me, please.
What?
Explain
He's
the map.
kidding, he's kidding.
I'm kidding.
We are here.
Yes, thank you, finally. Good job.
I came here tonight to thank you all. There are many things I want to thank you for, and this has to do with the July 1st decision of the planning board to deny Crown Castle's application. So here are just some of the things that I am so grateful to all of you for, and the planning board, and the zoning committee. The first is the wisdom and the foresight that the town had to own the cell tower, and you were part of that, right?
Thank you.
You and Jeremy.
Yes.
And that was incredible. That made a huge difference. The second thing was inviting top lawyer Andrew Campanelli to speak here and give actual legal advice that you knew you could count on. This is what he does all the time. And Stuart Lipkin, I believe, was here from the planning board, so he could be listening, asking questions, taking notes, and going back. That was huge, because we knew you were on solid legal ground with him, with what Andrew Campanelli was saying. For reading our emails and our letters and our conversations. Maybe not all of them, maybe most of them, but I know you got a ton of mail from people. And I appreciate that you took the time to talk to us, to read things, and for whatever you were all doing, any of you behind the scenes that I don't even know. I heard from some people about the things they were doing behind the scenes afterwards. So for doing that, for doing your own research. Having you at the July 1st planning board meeting to say that the town board fully supported the planning board in your decision was great. Also, Laura, I heard you did a lot of other things, which I will call you on, because I heard that you were doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff. That the town board passed the resolution to have Andrew Campanelli help with the rewriting and revising of the rezoning committee's code to strengthen it, so that the site developers will not want to tangle it all with bureaucracy and everything, and it will protect the town in the future. And for anything that I missed, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot to me. I have long believed that Woodstock would protect people, but until I saw actually democracy happen, I didn't know for sure. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was it.
So that's it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I would like, if publicly heard, could be moved for everyone's benefit, especially for the benefit of people who are disabled or elderly, could be moved back to where it was when the in-person meetings were taking place, to the beginning of the meeting, or near the beginning of the meeting. Announcements before or after, and then publicly heard. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I am going to move to go into executive session. for the purpose of discussing, move it a couple.
We don't meet, volunteers day coming on the